Hey everyone, David Chen here. This video is going to be a little bit weird because I'm going to be talking about Christopher Nolan's Tenet, but I haven't seen Tenet yet. And this video is going to be about why that is and what's happening right now in the movie industry. And it's going to be pretty freeform. It's going to be me mostly riffing, and hopefully that's something that you can appreciate in this moment. I've been reviewing movies for the internet for over a decade at this point, and it's fair to say that I think the theatrical film going industry has never faced more problems than it does today. And this was even pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, you had a situation where total number of tickets sold were declining despite the population of the United States increasing. The average ticket price was not going up that much relative to inflation. So it wasn't a product that people were valuing more. They were valuing it less, obviously. And then total number of screens in the United States was increasing virtually year over year. Movie theaters and their screens are expensive. They require people to maintain them. They require expensive leases. So all of these things were happening pre-COVID. Not a great situation you want to be in as an industry. Then COVID hit, it completely upended everything. And I think it represents an existential threat to the idea of film going altogether. There have been surveys out where people have said even if things were to reopen, many people wouldn't go back to movie theaters. So it was already in trouble pre-COVID. Now that COVID has hit, it's in a lot of trouble because there's all these expensive leases that aren't generating any revenue. And then post-COVID, it's likely people won't see going back to the movie theater as a need, or at least a lot of people won't. And that is very scary if you own and operate a movie theater or a movie theater chain. And it's very, very sad and depressing if you are a movie lover such as myself. Because I've been reviewing movies for a long time on podcasts like the Filmcast and now Culturally Relevant, I used to go to the movie theater quite a bit. I would go once, maybe sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. I love going to the movie theater in general, when there aren't assholes around you. You know, it's amazing to see a movie up on the big screen, to be surrounded by that light, along with all these strangers in the room. And there's really nothing else like it in the world that can replicate that feeling for me. At the same time, I recognize that my experience is not like other people's. The average person in the US goes to the movies around like 5 times per year. So you could easily imagine how they could just like cross that off the list of things they feel like they need to do. I give all this preamble to just explain that I love movies. I want them to come back. And not only that, I love Christopher Nolan's movies. I mean, Inception is one of my favorite movies of the last decade. I reviewed it recently on this channel. We did a Filmcast episode where I listed my favorite desert island movies. Like if I had to go to a desert island, what movies would I take with me? Inception was one of them. Freaking love The Prestige. That's one of my all-timers. And of course, Christopher Nolan also made those Batman movies. But I think Nolan is a genius, and he's done a lot to expand the American public's idea of what is possible in a theatrical experience. I am so looking forward to Tenet. You know, this is a movie that I am super psyched for. Every one of Christopher Nolan's movies is an event for me. I have seen most of his movies multiple times in theaters. So I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan, and I really desperately want to see this movie in a theatrical environment. Now, I understand if you are not in the United States, you likely have the opportunity to see Tenet right now. It's already opening in countries like Australia and Canada, and I've already started hearing from people who have seen it in those countries. But here in the United States, we have an average of around 1,600 coronavirus cases every hour, with hundreds of people dead per day. We're heading towards around 200,000 total deaths from the pandemic so far. It is not a safe time to go to the movie theater. In fact, movie theaters seem particularly unsafe because of the fact that coronavirus, from what we understand of it right now, seems to spread via droplets in the air, aerosolized droplets. And it spreads more easily when you're in the same space with someone for an extended period of time. And that's exactly what you're doing in a movie theater. Even if everyone's wearing masks, they're often taking the masks off because they need to eat or drink, which is what movie theaters' business model depends on right now. So it's just a bad situation to be going to a movie theater at all. Now, I've actually been looking for ways to increase the safety level when I go to a movie theater, all in the hopes of possibly seeing Christopher Nolan's Tenet. I live in Seattle, Washington, and most of the theaters in our area are not open, but there is a Cinemark in Olympia that's around 40 miles away, so it'd take like an hour to drive there, and it is showing Tenet, and you can book out a private screening for it for around $150. Now, that's a lot of money, but at the same time, I haven't seen a movie in a theater in 6 months, and I'm not going to see a movie in a theater probably for another year after this. So it didn't seem unreasonable to spend all of my movie savings on this one screening. So I called up the Cinemark and tried to figure out how to make it as safe as possible, and I was asking questions like, all right, is anyone going to be in the room before me? Because even if it was a reduced capacity crowd before me, because even if I have the theater entirely to myself, there's no guarantee people aren't breathing stuff into the air and it's not like still suspended in the air and so on and so forth. Cinemark says they clean everything, but like a lot of the stuff they're cleaning is what the Atlantic recently referred to as hygiene theater. You know, a lot of people are cleaning surfaces, cleaning seats, cleaning poles that you hold onto in the subway. And again, the science we have tells us that it's aerosol transmission. That may change because science changes as we get more facts, but like that's what we know right now at this moment. So here's me trying to negotiate with the very poor Cinemark guy to see how safe I could make this screening. Do you have some sense of how many seats are in this theater? I guess it's a private auditorium with 20 guests.
Yeah,
right?
That's our max of 20 guests.
How big is the auditorium? Just so I have, is it like 20 seats or is it like 100 seats and you're only sitting?
Does it tell you the number of the auditorium? Theater 14 has 105 total seats. That's one of our bigger theaters.
I see. So people will have been in it to watch, David Copperfield or whatever, but it will only have fit 20 people inside it, you're saying?
Yeah.
Is there a way to book a private watch party that's like the first screening of the day that's showing Tenet?
I believe that it shows the private watch party time, and those are the only times that you can do it. So whenever you click on it, the 7:05 is the only private watch party we have that day, but I believe that theater is used before that, because that's at 7:05. Anytime that late, all our theaters are going to be used.
Have you done anything to improve the airflow in your theaters since this whole situation went down?
I believe it's the same AC unit. The reason we limit it to so little people is to help with that. I'm not sure about the air filter though, or airflow.
Hey man, thanks a lot for taking the time to answer my questions.
Oh, no worries. Always happy to help.
I appreciate it.
I hope that we can figure something out for you.
So I just want to say thanks to Cinemark and that gentleman in particular for talking with me and being very kind to me and very patient and understanding. I felt like an asshole, just making all these outlandish requests, trying to see like how safe I could make it for myself. And, it made me really question why I'm doing this in the first place. Why am I trying to see this movie under super safe circumstances when, A, that's not even an option that's available to most people, and B, what am I doing this for? Like, is any movie worth this amount of risk? And I think the answer is no. Many people have different levels of carefulness right now when it comes to how they're dealing with coronavirus. I'm seeing lots of images on Instagram of people just chilling, no masks on, no social distancing. And I try not to judge because everyone has their own circumstances, things you're not aware of, trade-offs they're making that you can't possibly understand. All I can do is focus on my own life, the precautions I'm taking. Other people need to do their own thing. And overall, I've been, I would say, above average in terms of carefulness. Been social distancing, been wearing the masks, been doing all kinds of stuff that kind of prevent me from enjoying life in the outside world these days. And there's many reasons I'm careful. I don't want to get the coronavirus myself because even though the fatality rate is relatively low, for some people, it seems to do nothing to them. They seem to be just fine. And other people, they seem to be completely debilitated by it. And as far as we know right now, there's no way of knowing which one you'll be. So it's like, okay, I kind of have to assume that it's going to be the debilitating one for me. But we don't know yet. And I'd rather just not mess with it, Obviously, I also live in this house with my wife, and if one of us gets it, the other one's probably going to get it. So, I'm kind of acting for two people. But beyond those reasons, I have been haunted by images and video of medical workers, people on the front lines of this catastrophe trying to save us. And they need to put on all this PPE every day, multiple masks, face shields. It leaves indentations on their faces. They are needing to help people say goodbye to their loved ones because often their loved ones can't see them because of isolation policies in hospitals and stuff like that. Heartbreaking things that will likely be with them for the rest of their lives. And it was very important for me to not add to that, to take reasonable steps I could take to not be a part of adding to these people's trauma. Now, I understand if I went to go see a movie in a theater that I booked out for myself because I'm privileged enough to be able to do that, the likelihood that I would contract coronavirus is like really low, but it's not zero. And I know like any activity is not zero, but like going to a movie theater is not the same as going to a grocery store. You know, you don't need to go to a movie theater to live. You need to go buy groceries to live. You need to buy food to survive. A movie theater and going to a movie is ultimately optional. And like I said, it exists in conditions that make it unfortunately prone to spreading this disease, unlike a grocery store. You know, my local grocery stores mandate wearing masks and stuff like that. And so maybe there will come a time or a situation where I will feel safe going to a movie theater and feel like I've eliminated all risk. But it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen anytime soon. And that's kind of been what I've been in the process of realizing, is that it's a non-zero risk to go to a movie to see any movie, particularly Tenet. No movie is worth dying for. No movie is worth getting a debilitating disease for. And also, at the end of the day, the possibility that I might add to someone's medical workload somewhere that I don't even know, make their life harder, make their life more difficult, make their life more traumatizing, given everything else that's going on right now. And the idea that it might be for a needless, kind of frivolous reason, like going to a movie theater, is just not something I could really live with. So that is why I haven't booked any screening to go see Tenet yet. Now, I do want to make clear that this is a personal decision. It's a decision that may change depending on how factors may change, and like you may make a different decision for yourself based on your own calculations. I just want to share my reason, and hopefully it'll resonate with some people. And even if it doesn't resonate with you, hopefully you just kind of take it as a, hey, little data point that here's what some other random guy on the internet thinks. I read this article recently by Mike Ryan, which I thought was pretty interesting. It was called The Moral Dilemma of Tenet Showing in Theaters in the Middle of a Pandemic. And Mike Ryan at Uprocks is just grappling with the idea of like, this movie showing and like what his responsibility is as a movie reviewer. And there were a couple sentences in here that really stuck with me. Mike Ryan writes, quote, "It's been pretty frustrating watching entity after entity reopen then fail. We as a country didn't put in the work to get the numbers down, but we want the rewards anyway," end quote. And I thought, wow, great summary of what is happening right now in the US as many, many theaters are reopening to show New Mutants, to show Tenet. We didn't do the work, but we still want the rewards. And that really summarizes America to me in a lot of ways. Here, Mike writes, quote, "Here's some honest truth. My job kind of depends on movie theaters opening again and you going to theaters. You going to movies indirectly benefits me. And my goodness, I'd love to see a movie in a theater right now. I'd love to see Tenet. I'd also love to go to bars, but it's not safe right now. For me, neither of these things are worth getting a disease scientists don't even fully understand yet. And we didn't do what was needed to get the numbers down like other places in the world, but we are going forward with this anyway as thousands of people die from COVID every day. And look, this isn't some grand proclamation from me that I'll never cover movies playing in theaters. Morally, it certainly doesn't feel right, but I don't know how long that's feasible and still be able to do this job. But like I said, seeing mobile morgue trucks a few blocks from where you live sure does change a person," end quote. Ultimately, my decision whether or not to see Tenet is completely meaningless and inconsequential. But I realize it's part of me trying to like achieve some level of normalcy, some level of normality, you know? We've all been going through an extraordinary situation for the course of the last few months. And many of us want things to return back to normal. And like, I would love to go back to movie theaters. I'd love to see Tenet again. But at the end of the day, people are dealing with much more important, consequential decisions than this. I just wanted to share my thoughts on this because I talk about movies a lot and it's been swirling around in my mind. I'm sure people will have different opinions about this. Please be respectful in the comments below. But anyway, I hope you got something out of this video. I don't know what. But if you did, feel free to subscribe, hit like, make sure you hit the bell icon, get notifications for all new videos. It's the only way you'll be notified when I post something new. Thanks for watching this, and we'll see you in the next one.